Okay, so the adventure this week is dog sitting / house sitting. I am going to be away for a week, staying at my boss's house, which is also where I work. And I will be there looking after the dog while he's away, and obviously taking care of the house as well. So it's something I do like quite often, so it's not really a big deal, and I'm always happy to spend time with a very good dog who is sadly quite poorly, but is nevertheless a good dog. Um, and I will be there, and sort of just to when I'm not working or looking after the dog, I'll just be chilling in his house. So when you're doing that, there's not a lot really to do, because like your options are to watch TV or to breed. Basically, it's not like I can take my PlayStation or anything else to entertain myself with. So yeah, the plan is to read a lot of books, and I was wondering what I should read over the next week. And I thought, oh, there is a book that my boss lent to me, and it would be a really good opportunity to get it read, even though I'm not super hyped for it. If I get it read, I can then take it and leave it there. Job done. So that was an easy thought for this week. And then I was like, well, what else? What could be the theme of my week be? And I was like, well, there's several other books on my bookshelf that are just a bit I'm not the most excited for, and they're not going to be the best quality. I hesitate to call them trash because I don't think any book is trash. But they are definitely pulpy, cheap books that I have picked up in charity shops or in discount stores, you know, without a lot of thought, because I've gone, oh, cheap book that looks okay. Yay. So yeah, I've had a couple of these on my bookshelf, and because I don't have a lot of bookshelves, because I don't want to hoard a lot of books, they take up space that could be used by books that I'm really passionate about. So I thought, let's get them out, let's read them, let's see where we are. And so the 4 books that I'm reading are here. Bear with me. Here they are. And here they are. So as you can see, 4 books. So 4 books, that's very doable in a week for me if I'm not distracted by other things, especially if they're fairly easy reads, which I'm hoping they will be. The first book that I'm going to be covering, which is the one that my boss lent to me, is Glitterballs, which I'm just going to do my usual, holding it, hoping for the best, and that you can see it properly. So this book is something I'd not really heard about, and my boss had it and told me about it, and I quite like books about famous people. I don't like books about real famous people, like fictional famous people. So something like The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Loved it. Anything about a famous fictional person is my jam. Taylor Jenkins Reid, in general, is quite good for me. So yeah, or about reality TV, or anything to do with celebrity, which is ironic because I don't actually watch. I'm not that interested in famous people, and I don't watch a lot of reality TV. Like I watch like things like Bake Off and Traitors and things like that, but not like Love Island and Big Brother and all that sort of stuff. So I don't watch a lot of reality TV, but I like fictional reality TV, and I like fictional celebrities. And this is about a British pop star who is basically having some sort of meltdown. That's really all I know about it. It seems to be a sort of comedy thriller, I think. And I'm only thinking it's comedy because Jenny Eclair, who is a British comedian, has blurbed it. But yeah, that's all I know about it. I'm looking forward to giving it a go and telling you about it. fact, it's a really nice edition from my boss. It's got like a little postcard and a bookmark. And yeah, I think it's quite a recently published book. I did look it up in Storygraph, and there's not a lot of people who've read it, I think. But hopefully, this is going to, if it's good, it will inspire someone watching to read it. And if it's bad, we just won't talk about it. But yes, that's that. So hopefully, that's going to be the first one I will get through. And if nothing else, if I don't finish any of the others, even, which I will, but even if it all goes wrong, I will at least get this book off my shelves and back into my boss's house. So, yay. And then we have this one that's been kind of haunting me, which is Loch Down Abbey, which is here. Yeah, yeah. Okay. So this is a murder mystery. This I got in the Works, which if you aren't British, the Works, think like Hobbycraft if they also had like a discount book section. I think that's about the closest you're going to get. Like half of the store is craft stuff. The other, the other half is cheap books. Usually discount kind of style books. Like it's the sort of place that if you want a book on acupuncture and crystal healing, and also one on great train journeys of history, and also a full box set of the Hunger Games, you're going to go to the Works. It's that kind of place. And they've recently kind of really stepped up their game. They've kind of leaned into TikTok romance books. So it's a really good place if you want a physical copy of those kind of romances, to go and get them for not very much money. Like usually, even for the newer stuff, you're not paying more than between £4 and £8 for a book, and often a lot less. So this was just something I picked up in the Works. It is a murder mystery set obviously in a country house, and it seems to be a little bit of a parody of Downton Abbey, but also there's a pando that is affecting everyone, meaning they have to stay inside, which is why it's called Loch Down Abbey, and was published in the era of lockdown. So I think it's one of those books I kind of liked the idea of it, because I like a fun murder mystery, but I think the associations with lockdown kind of made me put it off for a long time, and it's basically sat unread for ages. When was this published? It was published in 2021, so you can see how quickly after lockdown started that they got this published. And I probably then bought it a year later, so it's been on my shelves for at least 3 years. And I just, at this point, I don't care if it's good, I don't care if it's bad, I just want it gone. So we'll see. We will see. Okay, and then this one is a newer one, and it's not been on my shelves long enough to irritate me. Here it is, The Novice's Tale. It's not been on my shelves very long. It's another Works purchase that I picked up only probably 6 months ago, maybe. It's not had it a long time. But it's the kind of, again, pulpy read that I just would like read and gone at this point. And as I'm not super hyped for Loch Down Abbey or for Glitterballs, this one at least I think is probably going to be one I'm going to enjoy, because I like a medieval murder mystery, which is what this apparently is. Yeah, a novice has gone missing. Classic stuff. Probably going to enjoy it. I really like Cadfile books, things like that. So this is hopefully going to be in that vein. I think it's one of those books that either I'm going to read it and enjoy it, but it's not going to be very memorable, or I'm going to struggle with it massively for some reason and DNF it. We will see. Also, the main character is called Emma, which is my name. Okay, we will see. And then last but not least, we have Eye for an Eye, which is here. I got this in an Abominable book box, which is a British horror book box. I'm so hopefully at some point on this channel I'm going to talk about book boxes quite a bit, because I have very mixed feelings about book boxes, and I have an idea for something I want to do that's like a sustainable um, kind of book box that will uh, work through my TBR and be a little bit more economical than actual book boxes, but while also being creative and fun and having little gifts. So we will see on that. We will hopefully, I'm thinking of doing that next month, so you'll get to see it then. But I have very mixed feelings about book boxes, and the only book box I've ever signed up for was Abominable, on the basis that it was a little birthday treat for myself, and I was only going to do it for a very limited time. So I did it for 3 months. So I got, and that like got me 9 books, because they do 3 books per box. So I thought it was worth the money. It wasn't wildly expensive compared to many other book boxes, and I didn't hate it. I have issues with them as a concept, which I will talk about at a later date. But I got this one. They basically, with Abominable, they do 2 newly published books, um, horror books, obviously, and then one kind of random charity shop book where they've just bought a bunch of thrillers and horror books, and then they wrap them up, and it's like a little surprise. Um, so and it's a nice way of getting a book, and it's a little bit of fun. So this was one of the random charity shop books that set, and I was actually probably it really did appeal to me just by pure chance, because what else did I get? I think the other charity shop books I got were like, I got a Dean Koontz and a Stephen King, and I am not a fan of Stephen King. Sorry, I don't mind a bit of Dean Koontz, but I've moved on from that era of thriller and horrors. They're not my vibe. So this one was like a nice little surprise, and it's a British thriller in which people who have been given new identities after committing a serious crime um, are basically being murdered. So it's kind of a contentious subject in like UK law at the moment, because we've had several killers who have reached the end of their sentence, and there were massive scandals who have been given new identities, and it's um, been a thing. If um, I won't go into the crimes because they're horrible, but like with people like the Bulger killers, um, so it's been a huge sort of scandal, and there's been a lot of discussion about the morality of giving these people new identities. So especially about the expense that is involved in that, and the amount of work that is funded by the taxpayer to do so, versus obviously the legal arguments that they have paid for their crime in the way that the court demanded, and it's a whole thing which we don't need to go into. But I may do when I've reviewed this and perhaps have some more feelings about the subject. Basically, 9 criminals have been granted lifelong anonymity, um, for their own safety because of the terrible crimes, and then someone is exposing their true identities, and there's vigilante killers involved and a probation officer trying to stop it all. So that sounds like my sort of book, and if it's not very good, then I'm sure it's going to be very readable. So that's it. So those are the 4. I'm looking forward to getting them done. Hopefully, there's going to be some winners in there. We will see. But mostly, I'm just looking forward to clearing out my bookshelves and getting them gone. So the next time you see me, I will be at the place where I am dog sitting / house sitting. I'm not going to lie, it's going to be a little bit wonky on the whole camera front because I can't take my full setup with me. That's just too much work and too much hassle. So it's probably going to be recorded a lot on my phone, and we will see where we end up. Okay, so bear with, and we will talk soon, and I will be back with my findings. Okay. Hey, so you're going to have to forgive the absolutely terrible lighting and just how awful I look right now, because I basically was kept awake by the dog. I'm dog sitting until 4 a.m. last night, and then I had to get up at 7 for work. So I'm a little bit broken. Yeah, it's not the dog's fault at all. Just a combination of things really that I wasn't really equipped to handle because again, not my dog, and the decisions that I just can't make. So yeah, it's not her fault, but I am a broken human right now because I've just done a full day of work on about 3 hours sleep. But I also have read some of my first book, which is here. It is, popping it up, Glitterballs by Michelle Howarth. I'm just under 50% of the way into this, and I wasn't expecting to really like it because it's not that I didn't expect to like it, I just didn't think it was going to be a book for me. I don't really read contemporary fiction. I like books about celebrity, but I like them to have a certain twist. So whether that's queer or romance or a genre, not just a book about a celebrity. So I was a little bit dubious as to whether I'd like it. It's also a first book, a debut, and it doesn't have many reviews to go off either. So other than the blurbs, there's not a lot I can really work with. So it was a real gamble. I'm about halfway in. I'm liking it, I would say. That's rather a measured like it. I'm not going, oh, I love it. It's probably not going to be a 5-star. It is not always a fun or easy read, but it's interesting enough. So the basic concept is that the main character, Howie, is an aging rock star who is sort of a favourite in the UK, but not globally massive. Someone along the lines of, I don't know, like Rod Stewart, that kind of vibe. Maybe Mick Hucknall. But yeah, they are a old school rock star who is now very much banking on their old reputation, while their life is kind of falling apart. They are having affairs left, right, and centre, and have a very difficult relationship with parenthood. And during the course of the book, his mother dies, which involves him being back in around the working class people he grew up with, and having to reckon with how different he is, and how much he despises what he left behind. He isn't a very nice main character. He's then balanced by his manager, Eddie, who is a much more a quiet, anxious, staid sort of man, who is on one particular night caught up in a certain amount of chaos caused by Howie, and the book really goes on to break down the chaos that then ensues following that night, the relationships of the people who are involved with both of them and how they are affected. And there's going to be a big fallout from this event. I can kind of see the way I think it's going to go, with what I think that fallout is going to be. We'll see, but at the minute I am enjoying it. the style is really readable. It's quite punchy, interconnected kind of chapters that aren't really, it's not like a very solid plot. It's more like you're spending time with various individual characters and then it's kind of building to a larger story. It does jump around time-wise because it's both happening before the event, like a couple of days before the event, and then during the event, and then after the event, and it does jump between the two quite a lot, so sometimes it's not very clear. Other than that, the writing style I quite like. It's quite detailed. It's detailed, not in a flowery, overly descriptive way, but just the markers of life and what's going on in each scene is really there, and it's very down to earth, and has some good turns of phrase, some good descriptions. I would say it sometimes borders on the grotesque. It isn't afraid to be disgusting where people's lives are disgusting. I think there is a little element sometimes of a middle-aged woman writing. I can't say for sure she is middle-aged, but I get that vibe. But yes, I like it. I'd say I'm enjoying where it's going. I don't think it's going to be a book I'll regret reading, but at the same time, there's not a lot that's appealing to me, as just it doesn't appeal to my interests necessarily, other than the fame angle, which I can kind of get in other ways. But at the same time, I don't know if I'm going to regret reading it. I just, it feels like when I was a teenager and I would read anything, absolutely anything that happened to fall into my lap. And so during my teenage years, I read a lot of really mad things simply because they were there. And I had access to them, and I didn't have the internet back then. So I just read whatever was around, and I read some very mad and inappropriate books, and some books that have left me with issues that I shouldn't have read. My developing mind shouldn't have read, and I read a lot of junk and a lot of great stuff. So it feels like that sort of book that I would have picked up at 16, knowing nothing about it, and just reading it and enjoying it. It's actually given me deja vu, because there's one particular book that I'm thinking of that the experience reminds me of, and I will dwell on what I think that will be. What I think that was, sorry. What is it? I'm envisioning the hardback that I read at around in my late teens that I just picked up, and it wasn't the sort of thing I would normally read. It'll come back to me. But yeah, that's it. Enjoying it. I think we're probably on to, if it ends well, a 4-star. If it ends okay, a 3.75. If it ends badly, we'll see. But yeah, I will come back when I've finished it, which will hopefully be this evening. I started dog sitting on Monday, which is when I started this challenge of reading these 4 books, and it's now Tuesday, and I'm about halfway through this book, so we're making progress. I'm again so tired that I'm not entirely sure what I'm saying. So yeah, I will report back when I'm done. Okay. Hey, here I am at my dog sitting thing. I have been here since Monday. It's now Thursday evening. Not my most glamorous. You're gonna have to put up with that because this is not the role for glamour. This is the kind of a situation where you need clothes that you are quite happy to have covered in dog hair and dog drool. And just dog in general. So yeah, you're not getting me at my absolute most beautiful, but you are getting me with an update about books, which is hopefully what you're here for. If you are here at all, if you are, really would appreciate just one single like. It would be so amazing. Like, this is such a new channel, and I'm not here to make money. I'm really not. I'm not here because I want to be an influencer desperately. I'm here for two reasons. One is that I really would like to have a community to be mad about books with, which is always wonderful. And secondly, because I'm trying to improve my confidence on camera, on speaking. You know, I've got a lot of issues around the way I talk and my communication. So this is good for me, but it's scary and hard. And I'm not expecting wild success. I'm not expecting this to bring me riches. I'm expecting nothing. But if you are watching this, just anything, any interaction would be wonderful. But anyway, let's talk about the actual books. So I have finished Glitterballs, which is right here. And I was surprised by how much I enjoyed this. I wouldn't say it is the finest thing I've ever read. It's not particularly deep. It is, however, very readable. There was at no point while I was reading it where I was like, oh, hurry up, I just want this over, which I can't say for all books that I read. You know, and towards the end I was really quite gripped. It didn't do a lot with the plot. It could have. It really focused on just spending time with probably 5 or 6 characters and just jumping between them for very short periods of time, back and forth across a very short window of time, a couple of days basically, both before an event and after an event. And it's all the people who are connected to this rock star. I thought it was going to do something it did do eventually as a kind of ending sort of earlier on, and I'm being quite vague because I don't want to spoil it, but yeah, I really thought that it was signaling that this was going to be the main plot point, and instead it kind of hinted at it all along, but it didn't really do very much of with the plot until everything kind of came together at the end. And so you're really just kind of jumping back and forth between these characters, and you're gaining little bits of knowledge here and there that are shaping the overall story, but it's not, like, I wouldn't call it particularly plot heavy. And there were certain points, especially in the sort of latter the latter third, where it long ago reached the point where you just needed some characters to be in the same room together having a conversation, like, and it was almost comical to the extent that some characters were not together for reasons that, you know, were just beyond sense at this point. Like, it just needed a simple conversation and we could have avoided a lot of what happened. However, it was minor, and because it's a comedy and a kind of a dark comedy, I could kind of let it get away with it. But yeah, that overall I liked it. I think it's a new debut author. I don't think it's a book that's done especially well. It's because it's got good blurbs and like you know, famous people reviewing it. And yeah, I like, there's 2 reviews on Storygraph and I'm one of them. So yeah, I don't think it's particularly huge. I think it's a shame, because if you enjoy, you know, a little bit of a sort of grubby domestic thriller, not quite thriller, but you know, that kind of zone, you'll have a good time. Pick it up. It certainly isn't going to be the worst thing you read. I gave it. Did I give it? I think I was generous and gave it 4 stars. I thought it was maybe a 3.75 for quite a while, but I kind of felt good about it when I finished it. And I looked at all my other 3.75 ratings and decided that it was slightly better than all of them. So yeah, I'm happy I read it, and I'm kind of glad that my boss lent it to me and encouraged me to read it. So yeah. And then I've also moved on to the next book. So there are 3 books I'm planning to read for this. 4 books that I'm planning to read for this video. So that was the first. I have now moved on to the second, which is Loch Down Abbey, which is by Beth Cowan Erskine. This is the book that has probably been guilting me for the longest time. I may have mentioned previously, but I bought this in the Works, which is a discount store, years ago, and it should have been the easiest, most doable read, and for some reason I got a mental block about it and built it into something that it really isn't. It's just a mystery book, and yet this book has probably been like, this sits next to like The Secret History in terms of books that I'm somehow intimidated to pick up. I do not know why, but yeah, so this book has been built into something it's absolutely not, and I just needed to get it done, and I need this out of my life. So I'm now, how far into it am I? I'm 126 pages in, and it's just under 300 pages long, so I'm coming up to halfway. And I kind of like it, actually. I'm genuinely surprised, because what put me off it was that I tried to read it a while ago, and I read the first like page and a half and didn't get on with it, and like the main character was not, she isn't the main character, but the character in the opening is so horrible, and the tone is so unpleasant that I was just like, oh god, this is going to be such an uphill struggle. But I pushed myself through it this time, and it's genuinely quite good. You know, for a mystery, like if this had been, you know, an actual detective era, like this is the golden age of detective novels in the, you know, 30s to 50s, and if this had come out then, I'd have read this and yeah, thought it was really quite a good entry in that roster of books. And so this is a really credible pastiche, with a few sort of modern twists. So it's basically set in the 1930s in a Scottish manor house, where they're basically a very unpleasant family have are living and arguing and making each other miserable. And the family are all together for an event, and the staff are obviously all there working as usual, but there is a sickness that is making the rounds with the news, and people are starting to become ill, including a lot of the staff. And then meanwhile, one of the family dies in mysterious circumstances. And there is both a detective who comes in, and also the housekeeper is looking into her own questions on what has happened. So the lockdown is obviously a reference to the dear old Pando, and what happened then. And this came out about 1 year into the Pando and the lockdown, so this makes sense that it was sort of pushed out around that time. But I'm kind of enjoying it. Like, it's not always an easy read. Some mysteries can be. There are a lot of characters, and they're kind of described. They're in the text they're described well, but in the character list, it's really badly laid out. So it's often I'm going, oh, who's that? And then it's not even obvious in the character list. But now I'm about halfway in, I've kind of got everyone down, because it's basically there's like three tiers of the family, plus children, plus servants, plus outsider characters who come in. And so it took a long while to figure out everyone's place, but I've done that now. And yeah, that the house has atmosphere. It doesn't. It feels like a kind of real aristocratic, deeply unpleasant, selfish family. It doesn't. It's not It's not Downton. It's obviously the title parodies Downton a little bit, but it's not Downton. You know, these aren't noble aristocrats. These are selfish rich people who need their servants to live, and don't consider them in any way at all as important or human. So yeah, I kind of like it for that. I like the bare bones honesty of it. Um, I think I'm going to enjoy it. I hope it sticks the landing. I like it enough that I'm already looking up the sequel. So I'm considering reading the next in it, but we will see. So I will love you and leave you. I will finish this book, report back, and then we will hopefully get through the rest. It's Thursday evening, so if I can finish this by tomorrow morning, I can get a good way into the Novice's Tale, which is the next book I want to read, and then I have basically from then until Monday evening to finish the last book I want to read for this. And then I will be going home back to my own flat, away from the dear dog. So, speak to you later, and I'll report back when I know more. Well, I'm back again, and I have finished Loch Down Abbey and made a start on the next book. I gave Loch Down Abbey 4.5 stars. I absolutely loved it. It's very rare that I'll be like, oh, this is around a 3.5 to 4 for most of the book, and then at the end I'm just like, no, I had too much fun. Like the last third of it, I was absolutely like feral. I wouldn't say it's like it's one of those ones where it's a really high rating, even though I couldn't have made it 5 stars, because it generally wasn't that good a book. Like it wasn't high quality, like it wasn't a high quality mystery. It had its flaws, but the flaws were massively outweighed by the huge amount of fun I had on it. I had such a good time. It was really atmospheric. I loved the vibe of the house, like the characters I really cared about, even the truly horrible ones. I just loved being around everyone. I would describe it as kind of like, think The Traitors meets Real Housewives meets Agatha Christie. Like all the messiest people you could possibly imagine trapped in a house together. And it's the squabbles that you're enjoying rather than the mystery itself. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think you could probably really dislike the twist at the end. It does come kind of out of nowhere. But that was fine, because it kind of it wrapped everything up in a nice way, and I didn't hate it, because if it had been a very serious mystery where everything had been very tightly plotted, I'd have been annoyed. But it was very much, we're here for a fun time. So ending in a fun way made me happy, and I genuinely think, after putting this book off for all of those years, I genuinely think I do want to read the sequel, which is Only Murders in the Abbey. Which, I mean, that gives an indication of like how unserious this book series is. That the first one is a play on Downton Abbey, and now this one is a play on Only Murders in the Building. So yeah, it's. I think it could become my guilty pleasure as a series. So yeah, I'm quite hyped for it, and I'm really glad that I read it, and I'm kicking myself for having avoided it for so long. So yeah, that was really fun. I have now started, the book is behind me, I think, here we go. I have started An Eye for an Eye, which I looked up the other editions, and it is released in the Netherlands, and I believe the Dutch for eye for an eye is oog om oog, which I find delightful. But yes, this is what I'm currently reading. I'm about 65 pages in. I've not been reading this at a pace that I would normally have read it at. I've just been a bit distracted. I've been doing obviously a lot of reading. It's been a very long work week. It's Saturday now. So yesterday was a bit chaotic. I also saw a friend came to visit me briefly, so a lot of the evening was taken up with that. And then, I did go to bed early so that I could read, but by the time I did, I was so tired I kind of just crashed out. So yeah, it's only now this morning. Well, it's nearly midday, but it's only this morning that I'm getting a chance to read. In terms of this book, the plot is, as I've mentioned previously, that basically there are 9 people who have been given new identities after committing a very serious crime at a young age, which this is a book set in the UK, and this is quite a UK specific scandal at the moment. It's something that's been had a lot of national attention for the last probably 10 years, because we had a number of child killers who were children when they committed the crimes, aging into adulthood, having served their sentence, and because they were so renowned, they then needed new identities. We've also seen it with a couple of cases, or very well-known cases, where someone connected to that crime has been given a new identity after, because they committed the lesser crime. An example is the Huntley killings. The partner in that, she served less time as an accomplice, or someone who helped cover it up, rather than committing the crime. And because of the outcry over that, she was then given a new identity, and I believe she is somewhere with a husband and child now. So it's something that's very much in the national attention, and this book basically follows 9 of these people, and what happens when someone starts giving the victims' families their current name and current location. And it begins with one of these people being murdered by the family of the woman he killed. So yeah, it's okay so far. Like, the setup I'm really enjoying. Like, the main character, who seems to be tying it all together, is already annoying me a bit. She's like the probation officer, but she's having an affair, and she's pregnant, and it's like, I'm just like, I don't need your drama, honestly. I care about the case. It's also, there's a lot of people. Like, every chapter is very short, and you're flicking between probably 10 people. So in the space of 15 chapters, I've spent I probably had the perspective of at least 9 people at this point. So I'm a little bit like overwhelmed with names. I kind of wish I don't normally what's it called? I don't normally annotate when I read, but I do kind of wish I had some sticky markers to put to remind me who the characters actually are. But it's going to be an easy read, because this is meant to be an easy read. So once I really focus, I will be fine. And that's it. 65 pages out of what was it? 477. So I'm still a long way to go. I'm getting a little bit anxious about finishing my challenge this week. Obviously it's Saturday now. I need to be finished by Monday night, which is when I will go home. and I've got this to read, and I still have the Novice's Tale to read. That's a short book. That's probably only it's under 300 pages, but I don't know how far I'm going to get into it. I really need this finished. If not tonight, then by midday tomorrow, I think. And then then if I get the second book started tomorrow afternoon, I will probably be able to get it done before I leave, but it's going to be a bit of a push. I'm not going to be able to do much else this weekend. And this is all academic. This is a challenge. It's not the end of the world. If I don't finish it, I will just finish it when I get home. But it won't be quite as entertaining for you as a video, and it won't push me to finish these books quite as quickly. So if I fail, I fail. It's not the end of the world. I've had a lot on. I have a full-time job. I've been living at my job literally this week. I've been dog sitting this week. I've had a lot. So if I don't, I don't. But I'm really hoping that I do, especially as again I do have quite a lot of time this weekend to focus, and I'm not going to be distracted by gaming and so on. Incidentally, next month, gaming wise, is going to be very hectic because Ghost of Yote comes out, and also I'm away 2 weekends, and a whole bunch of other things. So I am basically going. I'm going to really need to single out some time for reading because I just will not have much. But we will see. So I will love you and leave you, and I will report back when I have finished this and started The Novice's Tale. Okay, so I'm back. I'm in my own home. I am very relieved. I have waved goodbye to a very good pup. And now I'm back, a little bit tired and spaced out. I didn't get back till midnight last night, and then I had to get up this morning, do a full day of work, sort myself out a bit. So forgive the lack of glamour on display, although I think if you're looking for glamour, this is not going to be the channel for you. For looking for a girl who looks exhausted reading books and talking about them, if that's a good time for you, that's what you should be here for. um yeah Maybe one day I'll look wonderful, but it's not today. However, I have finished both An Eye for an Eye and The Novice's Tale. I did mean to check in halfway through The Novice's Tale to sort of update you on Eye for an Eye, and also give a kind of sort of feedback halfway through The Novice's Tale. It just didn't work out that way. The Novice's Tale was quite short, and by the time I kind of sort of got halfway into it, it was it's like 1 a.m. I was in bed. I just powered through because the end was in sight. So yes, that means I've got 2 books to kind of finish up talking about for this vlog. So Eye for an Eye, didn't like it. It's not the worst thing I've read. It's not the worst thing I've read this year, but it scraped a 2.5, and it was lucky to get it. It was readable, I'd say that. Like the chapters were really short. You were sort of bouncing around from different POVs. It kind of kept your attention. I wouldn't say I was gripped, and as it went on, I was increasingly less gripped as it got silly. But yeah, it was readable, and that's why it's got 2.5. When I think if you were to really think about the plot and some of the writing, you'd probably go a bit lower. But yeah, the the so the writer was a TV writer, I believe, and that really shows. It's very, it feels like you're watching a Sunday night drama, and that means it didn't have the depth of character because for TV characters, the actor is who brings the depth to those roles. The writer doesn't have to do that, except in the way they talk and their story is told. So it meant that you were dealing with a lot of characters, but also you weren't really getting to know them. and it, because there were so many and it chopped and changed, you weren't spending a vast amount of time with all but a few. And some of it really worked. Like, I found the point of view chapters from the perspective of the criminals who were being rehabilitated, who had served their time after committing a horrific crime as children, who now as adults were starting again under new identities. Their perspectives were the most interesting by a long way. And we follow three main ones in the book, and then there's a couple of other ones who are mentioned or are who eventually are killed. But the time with them was the most interesting, but it was also completely padded out with loads and loads of scenes from two characters who you just didn't care about. Who one was the main detective, who was investigating, and it was the dullest investigation. It was like, okay, you're going to interview this dude who has been mentioned once and who you don't care about, and he's going to say, "Oh, I didn't do it," and you're not going to have any evidence. So we just go, "Oh well, maybe it was him, but we don't know." Move on to the next scene. Virtually the same thing. And like the actual plot itself, because the story was kind of like um, someone is leaking the identities of these killers to their the family of their victim, um, and so that was interesting. But the actual investigation, it just boiled down to is who's the leak in a government body, which isn't a particularly thrilling plot. Oh, were you in this vicinity with a mobile phone at this time of day? Come on, I'm not interested. Um, yeah, and also it kind of relied on the fact that every family of a victim was going to turn violent and commit revenge, and I don't think that's true. Like, yeah, sure, there's always going to be a gang of lads in the family who's really pissed off, but it kind of didn't feel very real. Like, even the most vengeful family member is probably going to balk at actually killing themselves, I think, if it was really given to them as an option. And I kind of wanted to see that rather than everyone kind of going, well, just got to kill him then. Um, but yeah, I didn't enjoy it. I thought the twist at the end was stupid, quite honestly. However, I'm willing to say that thrillers are not my genre, um, especially this kind of very, you know, beach ready, blokey thriller. Um, it's not my genre. I think maybe if it is your genre, you'll have more fun with it. Um, I did see a lot of reviews saying that the author's other books were better, so maybe this was just a bit of a dud from them. But yeah, I think it's a shame because it was an interesting concept, but it wasn't done very well. But hey ho, it's finished. I've got it off my to read list, and I'm very happy about that. And then we move on to the next, which is The Novice's Tale. I really liked it. I wasn't expecting to, because I just finished An Eye for an Eye, and when a book leaves you not wanting to read anymore, like I'd already obviously read two other books in quite quick succession, then read An Eye for an Eye, and it really wasn't very good. And I was already a bit just tired of dog and house sitting and working, and I wasn't really in the mood to pick up another book. And that book had just left me completely numbed to the idea of reading. And I probably got about 10 pages into The Novice's Tale and was like, maybe I should DNF. This would all be over if I just DNF it. But I knew that wasn't fair, and I do try and give a book a fair go before I DNF. But it wasn't helped by the fact that The Novice's Tale is the second book in the series, and I hadn't read the first book. It does not make that clear on the cover or in the text on the cover, so I didn't know it when I bought it. And then they were like, "And you remember when all this, and this happened in the last time?" And I was like, "Oh no, I don't know any of these people. Help!" So yeah, there was that bit of me that was like, oh, just not read this. But I persevered, and I was really glad that I did. I actually really liked it in the end. I'd read more. So it's about a bookseller in Oxford in medieval times who has, due to his solving a murder previously, has come into contact with a young novice at the nunnery who doesn't want to be a novice, and she doesn't want to be there, and she doesn't want to take vows. But she's basically been packed off there by her uncle, whose reasons for keeping her there are mysterious, and the church is refusing to allow her to go. And so basically, she then flees, and the bookseller sort of has an interest in her and starts investigating, as he's already kind of helping her cousin's family as well. So he's kind of already dealing with her family. So I would say it's not the strongest mystery. I think it's almost a bit of a push to call it a mystery at all. It's a series of events, and there's a slightly mysterious element as to, oh, why is the stepfather doing this? And then you're like, oh, well, it's probably greed. And then it's like, oh, yeah, it's greed. Just money. He wanted money. So yeah, it wasn't a mystery in and of itself. However, it was an entertaining time anyway. Like, it was one of those, it was almost cozy mystery, I would say. You are sort of spending time with really nice characters who are having lovely meals and, going on gentle horse rides to various local places. At one point there's a whole bit where the novice just learns to make candles, and that's quite relaxing. Yeah, I kind of liked it. It for the level my brain was at the time. That was what I needed. I think there was a romance that I found a little bit questionable. I think I didn't see it coming. Um, I don't know whether that's because it was the second book in the series. I'd been imagining the character in a certain way, as an older gentleman, and in fact he was um, relatively young. So like when he started like being interested in marrying a teenage girl, I was like, what? And then it turns out that, like, no, he isn't actually a middle-aged man. So I mean, it wouldn't have been unheard of even in medieval times. So, but at the same time, it did feel a little bit, oh, I thought he had a fatherly interest in her. Apparently not. But it was all very chaste. There wasn't any, funny business. But he was definitely, you know, thinking that she was someone he could marry eventually. So whether he will, I don't know. But I will definitely, I'd definitely be interested in reading the next book, if it comes available. And that is it. Those are the. Oh, I gave it. Obviously, you want to know the rating. I gave The Novice's Tale a solid 4 stars. So yeah, very successful read. And I'd say, looking back on the 4 books I've read, I'd say the Loch Down Abbey was my favourite by quite a long way, and then I'd say followed by The Novice's Tale, which I really enjoyed. And then I'd say Glitterballs. I'd say probably Glitterballs was better written than either of the 2 mysteries, but I enjoyed it less because it was just not my genre. But I still, very solid time. Absolutely recommend it. And then I'd say Eye for an Eye was kind of way down at the bottom. So yeah, and I feel it's been a really successful week. I got some books that would have lingered on my shelf for a very long time. Again, I'm looking at my shelf for moral support over there. Yeah, it would have lingered for a long time on those shelves, and now they're done, and I've got room for many other things. As for what comes next, I have a plan. The next video you're going to see from me will be a booktuber newbie tag video. So that's where you'll get to find out a little bit more about me as a person and why I'm doing this, and why on earth a very unglamorous woman in her late 30s is share, sharing her life with the internet all of a sudden. So yeah, do watch that if you'd ever like to find out a little bit more about me and why I'm doing this and what I want to do as a booktuber. Then after that, I've got a few little challenges coming up, which I'm looking forward to. But this week, I'm going to be allowing myself to read a little bit more of my own choosing, because I've obviously just done quite a hefty challenge, and I'm a mood reader, so I don't tend to like having a set list of books to read. So yeah, which again, immediately that plan has fallen apart because I have a book club book that I need to read, like now for the book club, and I also have two books that were unfinished when I started last week's challenge, so I kind of need to get those polished off as well. So yeah, I will probably just finish those in time to start the next challenge that we do. But hey ho, I've got a lot read, and I'm very happy about it, and I've really enjoyed doing this. If you are watching this late in the game, I would really appreciate a like, a subscribe. As of now, I don't have any subscribers, which is pathetic, but hey, brand new, totally to be expected. Not what I'm here for, but it would be really nice if you could just click on subscribe, take a little bit of a gamble on me, and I will see you in the next video. Okay.